Aloha, I'm Brickwood Galuteria. Welcome to Kupuna Power, a show for and about seniors. As always, we display the senior helpline phone number, 768-7700. Today, we continue the conversation on financial fraud against our seniors. A kupuna feels a crime has been committed. Several questions come to mind. How does a kupuna know it's a crime? What is the law? Can caregivers report the crime even though a kupuna thinks it's not? Who do we call? When do we call? All these questions point to the complexity of elder financial abuse. Recognizing and defining the crime is difficult, especially for kupuna. It requires training for all those frontline workers who deal with seniors on a daily basis. Bank tellers, social workers, caregivers, and even beat cops, the officers of all the police departments throughout the state. On a daily basis, 6 to 12 calls reporting senior financial crimes are received by the Honolulu Police Department. As part of their training, recruits are taught how to intake crimes reported by the senior population and assess their gravity. To talk about elder financial exploitation is Lieutenant John McCarthy from the Honolulu Police Department Criminal Investigation Division, Financial Crimes Detail. Aloha, welcome to Kupuna Power. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Lieutenant. Okay, now what should kupuna know about financial fraud and when should they call 911?
You know, anytime you suspect you're being victimized, someone's taking your money without your permission, deceiving you, offering you sweepstakes, any offer too good to be true. Even when you suspect it, notify us as early as possible. Bring us into the fold so we can save money, we can get involved. We have options then, as opposed to limiting our options later on and the victim suffering greater losses.
Yeah. You know, I guess you come in at a stage where it's kind of too late.
Sometimes.
It's prevention or it's intervention, correct?
Correct.
So give us a couple of examples of, the type of things that you got to go through on a daily basis, because I know the number of calls that come in have increased greatly over the past couple of years.
Right. Well, even more recently, say the calendar year 2014, we've seen an increase. We get maybe a half dozen to a dozen calls a day. I do on my phone alone. And it ranges everything from romance scams involving elderly victims to...
Wait. Let's, right there, romance scams?
Romance scams.
What's that?
You know, these people are lonely. They want romance in their life. They hook on to these Christian mingles, Match.com websites. None of these websites are bad, mind you, but all of them have been infiltrated by these suspects, these fraudsters.
Really?
And they'll get on, and next thing you know, they hook up with someone. They're offline and giving them money.
Okay, that's the first one that you've started with. What would the others be?
Sweepstakes is probably the biggest. Everybody wants to wake up and have money. Mm-hmm. The fastest way is a sweepstakes. So they'll get calls from Jamaica, from various, another common area code is 702, Las Vegas area code. Okay. And the reason for that is these phones are tied into a computer. They're not calling from Las Vegas. The Magic Jack commercials that we saw years ago, those numbers are issued with 702 area codes. So they'll take that Magic Jack and use it anywhere in the world, but it looks like it's coming from Vegas. It validates the call to some degree.
So these landscapes are very sophisticated then, no?
Very sophisticated.
So say, if I get a call, well, I wouldn't know it's from Jamaica. Would I know it's from Jamaica if...
Jamaica, you know, they can't port those numbers. They cannot move those numbers. Any 876 area code number, that's Jamaica.
I bet you got some interesting examples of, these calls, how you respond to them. What do you say to the kupuna if they receive a call that they want a sweepstake or they want a jackpot?
You know, if it's coming from an 876 area code, tell them thank you, but no thank you, and just ignore the calls. The Jamaicans can be very vindictive.
What do you mean?
When you get into an argument with them, or if you try to play them, they'll prank you. Just like you see how they're rascals in a movie, well, they're even worse in real life. We've had people that have been arrested because of the pranks that they pull. We've also had where they'll tell you, meet me at the parking lot at 800 South Baratania Street. Well, that's the parking lot directly across from the police station. They're not going to be there, but they make you go there. So they'll make you jump through hoops and
Do they have local operatives too?
none whatsoever. Not the Jamaicans. But we've had cases where the Jamaicans have contacted local taxi services and sent them to the elder's house to be picked up, to go to Walmart to buy the green dot card.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry for
scary.
that reaction.
No, it's
by the
scary.
way, but
It's scary.
I think this is incredible.
Yeah.
And okay, that's number two. So what other type of scams are we talking through?
There's some really malevolent scams with IRS. That's one that's going around right now, where you'll get calls from people pretending to be from the IRS and tell you that you owe money. If you don't pay back within a given time, you're going to be arrested. That's frightful. A lot of these people have gone to their whole life never having a problem with the law, and now they're being threatened with arrest.
Now, you folks are there best practices around the nation, or is Hawaii on the cutting edge of this type of protection?
I think we're kind of on the cutting edge. The Honolulu Police Department takes a very aggressive, holistic view at this. We go out there and we try to save these people money. We try to intervene as early as possible. We look for options. We look for recovery. We always try to recover money.
When you say holistic, what do you mean? Is that's a combination then of help?
Yeah.
Family?
We talk to the family.
Institutions?
We'll talk to family. We work very closely with the financial institutions, social services, social service agencies, even the courts. We'll talk to the courts at times.
What's the process that goes through? I'm a kupuna. I suspect something's happening. I'm going to pick up the phone 911. I'm going to talk to, what do I say to the person on the other side?
You call a 911 operator and tell them, you want to report a theft. All of these cases are theft, classified as theft. Get them to have an officer come out, file a police report, and follow up on a police report. Make sure someone contacts you or you contact someone to make sure they're following up on it. Like you said, some cases may be too late. Maybe we can't do nothing, but at least we can talk to you and try to prevent future cases or future victimization.
Sure.
But sometimes we try to do a whole sorts of things. It's been fun with some cases where we get the elder to actually become our operative in a sense.
Oh, hey, you got a whole department of kupuna that can sign up for this then, huh?
Exactly.
Now, what about the neighboring islands? You work with them too?
We talk to the neighbor islands on a regular basis, yes.
So everybody's on the same wavelength for this?
Pretty much, yes.
Oh, okay. Now, when it comes to, we want to talk about finance. Well, we've come to this point where we're getting like ground level work. I mean, I see you on the tube all the time. You're doing reports on different news stations and such. For yourself, what would you like to see?
Well, the whole reason that I go out and do so much, or the police department does, is you can't patrol to stop this thing. My uniform doesn't stop this kind of problem. You have to get out and educate the people. What kind of scams are current? How to recognize that scam? What to do when you receive that call? So we got to get out and educate people on that. Not only the elders, but their family as well, because a lot of our elders are incompetent or on the verge of incompetency. They don't quite understand. It's too complex. The family has to see that behavior and recognize it and report it to us.
Now, when we say incompetence, we simply mean that they're not informed enough?
Well, some of our victims are well into their 80s and 90s. They've worked their whole life. They can go day to day and function, but these problems are complex. They don't realize the cyber facet of it, the computers, the phone calls, the scam, the banking. It's a little too complex for them. Or they think they're doing a good deed. Our local people are really nice. They give, they help. They don't realize that they're helping a lot more than they think they're helping.
So you shouldn't divulge any type of information over the phone?
Not at all.
I mean, name, obviously, they probably know your name already.
Yes.
But
usually.
what are they searching for?
They're searching, with any kind of elder theft, they're looking for your assets. They want to get into your pants pocket and steal all the cash they can get.
And you've got examples of people who have lost everything that they have?
We've had people lose their homes, their cars, their entire retirements. I mean, they've lost everything.
Do they have family?
Not all. Some people, you'd be amazed. Some people don't have family. They don't have, their siblings have passed on. They don't have children. They really got nobody to watch them.
So they should call immediately.
I think, the best thing is call immediately, because we're going to look at it, again, like I said, holistically. If they need help, we're going to get them that help. If we can help, we're going to give them that help.
That is good to know. As a legislator, it's important that we have effective laws. What level is Hawaii?
I think we're pretty good. Our financial crime laws are pretty good here. When we get into the arena of identity theft or unlicensed financial advisors, we have felonies, the highest felonies, which actually we refer to them as Class A felonies. require a mandatory 20-year term of imprisonment upon conviction. Talking to my counterparts in the mainland, they just love this law. They can't believe that we have a law like that.
Really?
So we've gotten pretty good laws.
Okay.
It's just a matter of proving a point.
Enforcement. We got enough?
Enforcement.
Not enough.
I hate to say we don't have enough. No.
Okay.
We're chasing on that part.
And as the population, the aging population gets older,
Right.
more people are going to enter that arena. So we got to get ready for it. And hopefully, you know, we will all pitch in because we are all in the Kupuna canoe, shall we say. But appreciate what you're saying, what you've come to share with us, and the fact that we got to act sooner than later on this. Any parting thoughts that you'd like to share as we come to the conclusion of our talk?
It's just so important to recognize a scam and call us as soon as possible. So education and getting us involved as soon as possible. It's the best possible thing you can do.
Okay. Well, listen, Lieutenant McCarthy, we appreciate what you do for our community.
Thank you.
We appreciate every one of you police officers, whether on Oahu or any of our neighboring islands. So continue.
Thank you.
To continue.
Thank you.
And I'll see you again, okay?
Sounds good.
Mahalo. Mahalo to Lieutenant John McCarthy for telling us how the HPD can stop and in some cases recover money from financial fraud and scammers. This is Kupuna Power. Up next, we revisit Kupuna Power Day at the state capitol. But first, what is the oldest school on the island of Oahu? Today here at Kupuna Power for our education, we'll revisit topics like Medicaid and Medicare, avoiding identity theft, and long-term insurance. For our entertainment today, we had brother Danny Kalekini is going to be coming back on stage in a couple of moments. Marlene Sai is here, one of Hawaii's great voices as well. There's a comedy group called The Brothers. Perhaps you've seen them on OC16. Well, half of them are coming. I don't know if it's the bra part or the da part, but Tony Silva is going to be joining us here today. Plus my superb musician friends over here, Kit and Steve. We'll round things off with some impact exercise, nothing too high impact. And then, of course, we have all of our friends, our resources all around the Capitol Rotunda that we want you to go take advantage of. We got blood pressure checks going on over here. We got stress checks going on over there, all over the place. Just feel free to ask questions because that's what this is about. Connecting the dots is what Kupuna Power is all about.
So the Executive Office on Aging is, we're invited to be a part of today, me giving the Pledge of Allegiance, but also to have a presence with the resource fair that's available for everyone to get that educational information. We have several of our booths from our SMP program, which is our Senior Medicare Patrol program that does Medicare, educates people about how to prevent Medicare fraud and abuse from happening, to our SAGE Plus program, which is about Medicare outreach and education and Medicare counseling. And so we have a nice presence here with that, plus so many of the service providers that we work with, that we contract with, are here as well. So it's just a privilege to be here today. Today's event is, I think, really a model that we hope that we can replicate. And the reason is because it has a really nice balance and mixture of entertainment, of fitness and exercise, of education and resource material that's intertwined in such a way that is entertaining and it's fun and it's engaging. And I think this is really how we can attract more older adults and seniors to come out to these types of events and to get the information and the message that we're trying to convey and have a good time at the same time.
Well, in terms of the brothers and the friends, we believe in giving back to our community, young and old. Doesn't matter the demographic, Doesn't matter the age group, doesn't matter where they're from. We believe in giving back, and this was one of them. We did it 2 years ago, so here we are again. When it comes to our philosophy for comedy, it's really simple. It's grassroots. It's what we call Hanabara days, growing up in the country. For an older audience, you definitely have to speak clearly. And today I had on my teeth, so I had to over-enunciate what I was trying to express. Facial expressions are huge with older audience because a lot of them can't hear well, but they can see and they can read lips. So these are things going in you don't really think about, but you know. And then the stories that you're going to share has to be simple. It can't be too difficult. I don't know if you noticed today, I asked them to clap high when I pointed up, but half the audience didn't understand English. That's the Filipino contingent, so they started pointing up, which was fine because that worked too. Now that's something I didn't plan, but it worked out perfectly, yeah. Oh, I'm currently living with my in-laws, 84 and 85 years old. They're like incredible. I mean, a lot of people say, how is that living with them? I say, you know what? Wouldn't have it any other way. They're happy. Their quality of life is great. But if it ever got to the point where we can't care for them anymore, then we'll seek help outside of the home. But right now, we're good and they're good, no problems. The only other thing I want to add is I'm very thankful for our kupuna. I think we in Hawaii as a state, we go over and beyond to take care of our elders, the way we care for them, the way we keep them in the household until we can't care for them anymore and then we need help. It's very unique to anywhere else in the nation. So I'm just thankful, and I just want to know, I just want the kupuna to know that we love them.
Waikiki, at night when the shadows are falling, I hear a rolling surf calling, calling and calling to me.
What is the oldest school on the island of Oahu? The answer is, the Royal Elementary School was founded in 1839. It was originally known as the Chief's Children's School and was first located where the Iolani Barracks stand now. Up next, Kupuna Power takes a look at the kickoff of Honolulu's Aging Friendly City initiative. But first, what did Alex's Drive-In, Kapiolani Drive-In, and Kau Kau Corner have in common?
Age-Friendly Cities Initiative is an initiative that's being done with the City and County of Honolulu, AARP, and the World Health Organization. This means that the City and County of Honolulu is committed to transforming the city into an age-friendly city. Today we had the launch of a really key component of the Age-Friendly Initiative. It was the launch of the Citizens Advisory Committee, and this part involved having the stakeholders in the community involved in the planning process.
A group of 80 or so volunteers, leaders in the community, businessmen, people from the public agencies, professionals, retirees, and really to begin the work that will take place over the next 12 months. And at the end of 12 months, all of these, there's 6 domains, there's 6 work groups that will be undertaking and preparing baseline assessments. They will be identifying actions and options that have to deal with housing, transportation, employment, voluntary efforts, etc. And then identifying indicators of success. And so collectively, that work will then become, from all of the work groups, they'll become that action plan. The city will then adopt it and then be able to begin implementation.
Under the AARP Age-Friendly City Initiative, there are 8 domains, and we have actually reduced the 8 into 6 identifiable domains, including transportation, housing, outdoor spaces and building, civic participation, community, social engagement. And we're going through a process here today for the first time where we're engaging civic leaders and community leaders to come up with discrete areas that can be improved in those 6 domains.
It will mean that housing will be looked at differently, to be intergenerational, transportation, to make sure that open spaces, parks, employment, social connectiveness, all are being done with the seniors in mind. In fact, for everybody from Kupuna to Keiki.
I am co-chair of the steering committee, which is organizing the age-friendly initiative in Honolulu. And we've been working a while as the steering committee, and today we had our first meeting of the Citizens Advisory Committee. And there'll be a series of 3 meetings. The process is identifying the problem areas, alternative solutions, and then the recommended solutions. So we're moving from the discussion point to, in September, beginning to have a draft plan of how we make Honolulu an age-friendly city.
What we're in right now is the 2-year planning process. At the end of the 2 years, we submit an action plan to the World Health Organization and AARP. And if they approve the action plan and they certify us as an age-friendly city, then we have 3 years to implement. And at the 3 years point, we report back on what policies we've implemented. And then there is a 5-year renewal where you constantly go back and you look at your metrics. And you show that, in fact, you have made your city a better city when it comes to being age-friendly.
What we find across the country is that where the Age-Friendly Cities initiative has worked best is where you have a rapidly growing, rapidly aging community, and you have rapid urbanization and transportation transformation occurring. And as you know, in the city and county of Honolulu, that's exactly what's happening. An aging population and a rapidly changing infrastructure.
I think, if you look at communities like Hawaii, places like Hawaii, where land is very scarce, real estate is very expensive. So development, the highest and best use, oftentimes it doesn't ignore necessarily the needs of special populations, whether it's the elderly, but they tend to separate the communities. And that's not, it's not a real life situation. And I think part of it is because of where we live.
Our emphasis in this initiative is how we make the city friendly for the elderly so that they may age in place. For a long time, we have been car-centric in building our cities and our suburbs and our fringe areas around the car, and you need the car to get everywhere. The move now is to make cities, as you put it, more walkable, convenient, places where you can really operate.
If you look on the mainland and you look in other countries, you'll see that where they have transit systems, like a rail with a bus intermodal system, they've been very successful at developing communities around those transit stations that allow people to get where they want to go without having to have private vehicles. And many people opt for that kind of a lifestyle. So they really like not having to have a car and a garage and pay gasoline expenses. We think this gives us an opportunity at the 21 rail stations to develop communities and offer that to people who choose not to live in a house with a 2-car garage with a yard. They choose to live in a community where they can age in place and they can have services, medical, healthcare services, they can have food services, nursing visits, all of those things within their community, and live out their lives in their own homes versus have to transition to a retirement home. The Department of Transportation Services would be involved in the transportation domain, and we would look at public transit, which for us is not just looking back and seeing how we can do the bus and the handy van better, but looking forward, being proactive about the relationship between bus, handy van, and rail. So rail will come online in 2017, phase 1, 2019, phase 2. And it's very important that we accommodate the elderly, the paratransit community, in those intermodal connections. For other departments like housing, we not only work with the federal HUD department, but we work with city departments. There's actually many departments that overlap in that area. For example, HFD, the fire department, and how we get the elderly out of buildings in the event of a fire. If the trend is to grow the aging population to approximately 25%, if you can imagine, if our aging in place concepts are successful, you could have 25% of the occupants of a condominium being elderly. And that's a significant issue when it comes to a fire or an event that requires that you evacuate the elderly. How do you get 25% of the occupants out if they need assistance? So it's those types of policies that we're looking at today and seeing if we need to make changes that help us become an age-friendly city.
All the domains actually come into two categories. One is the physical infrastructure. You have to have a well-designed physical infrastructure. That would be housing, that would be open spaces and parks, that's going to be transportation. And if you have a really well-designed physical infrastructure, what layers on top of that is the social connectiveness. And that's where we get into the other domains of how people interact to stay healthy, how we have the seniors and the community members mixing for intergenerationally, and how we make sure that there are work opportunities. So it's really two categories that almost all the domains fall into. But you cannot do one without the other, or I should say you can't do it without the physical infrastructure. And if you have that, then the end goal would be it will make the social connectiveness possible.
And if we make our cities age-friendly for the elderly, we're making our cities friendly for all age groups. And it will certainly be for those that are moving from the 50s or the 45s into the over 65. So yeah, we all have a stake in this, and awareness is an important part of what our initiative is concerned with.
For seniors, as they age, their world shrinks.
During a quiet afternoon in her mother's last year of life, Dr. Faith Fitzgerald, widely published and well-respected physician and educator, asked her mother for her thoughts and perspectives on aging. Dr. Fitzgerald was surprised by her mother's answer, which was simply, "My world got smaller."
When we approached Mayor Caldwell, he signed off on the application within a matter of hours. And we submitted it to AARP at the national level and WHO, and within 24 hours, we had a deal. This was the fastest agreement across the country. And so I think that really showed the commitment. And then when we talked to the city council, they passed a resolution. And when we talked to Kaiser came on as a title sponsor. They were thrilled. I mean, when you see this kind of energy and commitment coming in from all fronts, you know it's going to work.
What did Alex's Drive-In, Kapilani Drive-In, and Cow Cow Corner have in common? The answer is, they all featured car hop service. There you have it. Remember, Kupuna, reject financial schemes that are too good to be true, and then call 911. All of our police departments are on your side. I'm Brickwood Galuteria. Join me next week for another episode of Kupuna Power. Aloha.